Hi everyone. Sorry the lighting in here is so bad. It's 4:30 in the afternoon and already almost dark out, which is so depressing. There's a couple of things that I wanted to mention right beforehand before I start this video, which won't be long. It won't be a long video, but one of them is that the Mankind Initiative in the UK is scheduled to run out of funding January 1st. They will no longer be able to operate. And this is a service in the UK that deals with male victims of domestic violence and men with serious problems in their lives. And so anybody who could throw a few dollars their way, that would be much appreciated. I wanted also to thank Liz, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce your last name. So I'm just gonna say thank you, Liz, and thank you to Phil and Theron as well, who invited me out to BC to give two speeches and take part in a panel discussion just this last weekend. And I wanted to let everybody know that the videos, there was actually professional quality video taken of all of those events, and they will be uploaded at some point soon, I hope, and I will point you to them when they are all there. I also wanted to thank everybody who donated to help the trip not hurt quite so much. As you can tell, I haven't quite gotten my voice back. It was a lot of talking over the weekend, so and it was much appreciated that my bank account. I'm not into my overdraft. Just paying to go out there because if the organizations holding these events could not afford to even pay for accommodations, let alone travel expenses. So thank you so much. Now, I'm essentially just going to read out the letter that I sent to the CBC, and I sent it to them in response to a program on the National, which is their flagship program for CBC TV. CBC is our Canadian public broadcaster. They are paid for with our tax dollars, and they definitely are supposed to be neutral in their coverage, but they're not. They are extremely left-leaning and very very feminist, and they don't really cover the issues in a fair and balanced way. It's in response to a episode of the Sunday Talk that was uploaded just this last weekend, and they used a clip of me in the intro, and Allison and I tackled the episode in a rant zerker, which can be found on the Honey Badger Radio channel, and I will link that in the low bar if anybody wants to listen. So we took about 3 hours to rip to shreds a 12-minute video on the CBC about men's rights activism. And so now I am going to read you guys the letter that I sent to the CBC. Attention, Wendy Mesley. This was the host of the program. Hi there. I wanted to express my disappointment in the CBC's The Sunday Talk for hosting a panel on men's rights groups that did not include a single MRA. Though Jonathan Kay did a very good job of defending the legitimacy of men's rights issues and in defending their right to speak, in what was essentially a two-on-one discussion, he is woefully uninformed regarding where MRAs are coming from. For instance, he immediately framed the men's issues debate as a left-right issue, when in reality, men's rights communities are a politically diverse group of people embracing ideologies as varied as communism and libertarianism. I am no stranger to the CBC. I provided a lengthy interview to one of your journalists during the furor over the Don't Be That Girl posters put up by Men's Rights Edmonton, a clip of which I believe was used in the pre-recorded introduction, which was surprisingly balanced, to the segment. However, this use of my image and words in the intro became particularly ironic for me when panelist Sachi Kool raised her concerns that the men's movement excludes visible minorities and trans people. Kay was at a loss as to how to respond because he's, simply speaking, not part of the movement. He had no way of knowing that on November 8th, the very date of the upload of this episode of the Sunday Talk to YouTube, I was being introduced to a full lecture hall at Simon Fraser University by a trans woman on behalf of their SFU Advocacy for Men and Boys Society. That trans woman, Theron Meyer, is the president of that society. The reality is that men's rights advocates have openly and repeatedly asserted that most of the problems that affect men disproportionately affect men of color, gay and bisexual men, poor men, and both trans men and trans women. Any popular MRA would have been able to tell you that. Any popular MRA would have been able to steer the discussion away from the left-right red herring and into a constructive discussion of the actual issues and the actual barriers to addressing them, of which the authoritarian left is just one of many. Political conservatives and the religious right are every bit as guilty as the authoritarian left of minimizing and dismissing a lot of these problems. Yet your producers saw fit to stage a panel discussion about MRAs, their issues, their motivations, and their intentions, without including a single MRA on the panel, despite having the contact info of the most popular MRA in Canada, that would be me, on file, and despite my contact info being clearly posted on my YouTube's channel page. You, Wendy, stated yourself at the end that you weren't sure you learned much from the discussion. Well, what did you expect? Your producers didn't invite anyone knowledgeable about both the issues and the movement to speak, or even reach out to any of us for comment. Is this the level of journalism that Canadians must accept from an organization funded by their tax dollars? Am I well served by a publicly funded broadcaster that talks about me and people like me without ever asking any of us to be part of the discussion? Kay's suggestion that men's rights groups represent a left-right conflict is not true now, but it may become a self-fulfilling prophecy if the only media outlets willing to actually talk to us, rather than about us, lean politically to the right. If our members can only get a hearing at all, let alone a fair one, from Breitbart or Rebel Media, then more and more of us will be attracted to political conservatism. And that's not going to end well for left-leaning media. Polls indicate that only about 20% of people in the US, Canada, and the UK identify as feminists, while support for men's issues is growing among the mainstream of society. The shared parenting bill recently defeated in Canada had overwhelming public support. The alimony reform bill vetoed by the governor of Florida at the request of the National Organization for Women had overwhelming public support and passed both houses by a bipartisan landslide. Every individual in Canada knows a man they care about who committed suicide, a man who's been denied reasonable access to his kids, a boy who's struggling in school, or a man who's financially struggling with unreasonable family maintenance obligations. These issues don't only affect men. They affect bereaved wives, mothers, and sisters, children who are denied a relationship with their fathers, the future women who will be looking for stable, educated male partners and won't be able to find them, and the new families of married men who struggle to pay for necessities with what's left of their paychecks after the MEP has had their way with them. Yet organizations like the CBC continue to talk about the people spearheading public awareness of these issues rather than talking to them. They continue to unfairly stack their panels with antis and allow people who are outnumbered and uninformed to represent the pros. And then they complain that they don't feel like they learned anything. I have the most popular men's rights channel on YouTube, and I have been asked to speak at numerous conferences and conventions. I have never turned down a media interview. My contact information is available on my YouTube's About page, user/girlwriteswhat. I'm a Canadian woman who is tired of seeing these issues poorly represented by a mainstream media whose mandate is supposed to be to inform the public rather than preach to them. I look forward to the day you have the courage to engage with an actual MRA. Until then, I'll continue not watching your programs. Sincerely, Karen Strong.